Alright, so hi there. There's a phone. So I'm on the phone, and I never wear black. This was just the only heavy thing I had to crawl underneath the house and see what was going on. And I don't know where that came from. I'll try and straighten that up. This is a HD TV antenna. It uses the mirror as a reflector for radio signals from that direction over there across the Pacific. Across the Pacific. I was trying not to say Pacific. I was trying to say this is anti-cancer tea. It just reached the boiling point. That's probably hot enough. I'll move it off the heat. And I'll stir that together. Anyways, so I got the operator at the FBI for the national line, 911, or 90, operator 901, and when I asked him about architects and engineers for AE 911 Truth, he hung up the phone. I thought that was just small chat. The FBI like to be anonymous. You can't kill people if they can report you as a suspect in the killing. So, the FBI have been linked to Anon. Anonymous supposedly hacked the FBI. There's an ongoing story where the Americans call phones cell phones. Cell phones. And then the NSA runs runs Prism. And so you have prison and cells. And so the listening network is blackmailing the nation into doing things it's doing. But these are called mobile phones. Mobile phone. So the difference between a house phone and a cell phone? There are probably arcane laws in there. It's the reason the Obama administration got everybody onto the lifelines and all that, is because for whoever keeps a landline or some such, landline, there's different security than if you're on a mobile phone, which in USA they call jail cell phones, because the NSA is running a PRISM, which sounds like prison, and prison cells. All people being drafted as Black Petes. Now, it was actually the very first George Bush who wanted all men to be slaves to other men. He called an African to the White House to sell him drugs to open up his presidency, arranged by the Secret Service, because the Black Pete could kill all the pretty women through getting them to be prostitutes and dancers and strippers, and then get all the strippers on drug habits and stuff like that. And what I've been experiencing with the police is that they're actively participating in this plan to get rid of anybody who isn't fat and ugly. And I was just experiencing something strange here. It's like they're running me around. The local officers don't know that my family is Sir Edwin Sandys, and that we paid for the Jamestown, Virginia, as the treasurer to start the nation. And also my DNA is that of Alexander Hamilton, who was the first treasurer of the United States, who created the Treasury. He actually drafted most of the Constitution and the laws of the United States. Because I have a little bit of a tan, and because my hair hasn't turned albino snow white like my dad, who looks like Santa Claus, my mom, she's a little bit darker, has some skin color to her. She's not an albino turkey or albino chicken or an albino pig. Real bacon, red meat bacon, is black hair. Real beef, Angus beef, is black hair. Real milk comes from black cattle. But this white supremacy albino chicken thing decided to crossbreed the black cow with an albino cow and get that speckle pattern they call a milk cow. Now the goal is to eventually kill all the black cows, all the black pigs, all the black animals, because the lower nutrition, lower iodine, which is 10 or to 15 IQ points, is their goal. Now a gun which is part of the Second Amendment, grants them permission to shoot anybody whose First Amendment rights interfere with their right to Second Amendment, their neighbors, their cousins. Well, it's probably not their cousins, but anybody standing near them and anybody who disagrees with them. Elbert Hubbard was chased from the United States for writing inspiring things of loyalty for the military. The enemy of the United States is anybody who believes a soldier should be a loyal, honest citizen and not someone dedicated to killing for blood money. And so Elbert Hubbard was chased to Ireland. We had the same problem with Thomas Jefferson, thinking that mudsill theory was a bad idea. And so they chased him to France so they could get rid of all the civil rights that were in the original Articles of Confederation and start a constitution without a Bill of Rights. Where there was a Bill of Rights, it was 14 pages. They reduced it to 4 pages total. But then they betrayed the Germans, who were the fourth branch of the U.S. government. It was 1 Corps 3, and then Germany, Pennsylvania Dutch, Ohio, all that. But they betrayed them, so in Indiana there's been an ongoing battle. I'm from Indiana, and the German food and German everything is better than these three that go through Florida and Kentucky, and I was trying to say Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and Kentucky. The other branch squeezes through Kentucky, which was the original Virginia province, and have been cutting down all the trees in Indiana. They left a bank or burn forest called the Hoosier National Forest to interfere with the westward migration of the Germans. It's like a firing squad where none of you are allowed to live here or build here because it's a national forest. So they had to go around and they got choked up here. And so the middle group that's trying to form the Chicago Land Bridge, in order to expand north, like pushed all the Amish forward and got rid of them. I come from a town called Perry County where my own grandpa was part of a thing where he said, like, we'll always pass people on the slow lane to scare the shit out of the Amish and to get them out of the way, because the new agriculture had to be tractor powered. John Deere, Caterpillar. We have that in Florida. Caterpillar iron rusting machines are to replace all the pretty women and all the agriculture workers, the black Petes, etc. And so the FBI and the police are part of a radar system run by the military. Now the mystery of Washington, D.C. says it's the Navy, but all the publicly labeled information says that it's Army radar and that it's Army cyber and that's Army domain name systems that are running this war against us. Also, for Google, the video camera needs to work and record even when I switch to a phone call. It'd be nice to record my expression while I'm on the phone. I guess I'll use the laptop for the next phone calls. Try and record things on the laptop, and I'll do that. But I made 2 calls. Unknown. Yeah. Unknown. And the NSA trying to cell phone everybody in a PRISM network to prison cell the public to not talk about the goal to kill anybody who isn't fat and obese. Some time ago, St. George, who runs the Free and Accepted Masons, who created Demolay Free and Accepted Masons, then Demolay and St. George created Uggle, who killed Aaron Mabiff, the master architect, because he was putting metal roofs and slate roofs on top of houses. And the Shingle Society is dedicated to breaking 10 Commandment tablets and following Moses and murdering everybody who does good quality work. You know, they have to get rid of all the craftsmen. That you can't be white and have always a blank white slate every generation if there are people who are willing to spend on quality money. So these people who are on here, Robert David Steele and this guy, they're talking to people.
Certainly residing in New York City, and of course its impact on America financially is incredible. Secondly, and equally as important, Robert, this illegal process, this fraudulent scheme, this has killed hundreds of thousands of jobs of hardworking Americans, because the ultimate goal of these perpetrators is to sell all the shares of the company that don't exist and take the share price to zero, which then kills the company. And they do that for two reasons. One, it hides the crime. Imagine that a bankruptcy court wipes out anybody's interest in shares. Well, all those shares that were sold that weren't real just get buried in the sand, and the perpetrators get to ride off into the sunset. But what they leave behind them is carnage, and that carnage is the people who lost their jobs, the people whose retirement accounts have been diminished substantially because of the
That's a CIA agent.
Stock that incidentally they bought to go up in value, not down. Also, it destroys technology. It destroys technology that could better all of our lives. Many of the clients I've represented over the last 20 years in this space have life-saving technology that was unequivocally proven, or other processes by which our lives would be better. Maybe it caused something to happen faster. Maybe it expanded some procedure or process that would help all of us. All of that is destroyed in the name of greedy and money. Lastly, it is absolutely...
I'm just going to stop there where he said all that's being destroyed in the name of greed and money. That's basically what's going on here. Demolay. Now, Robert David Steele, who's running this network, he says that who's in charge is Order of Malta. Those are the biggest and fattest men. But Order of Malta is supposedly also the medical branch of the military to kill anybody who isn't fat and ugly. And so I very much doubt it's Demolay. They're also just kind of a nuisance that bothers the Pope and tells the Pope, don't worry, all the thin and athletic people, all Team USA can die. Just let the military continue to kill. And the Pope goes, okay, we're all going to pray. You know, I've got like absolute power, and I could tell my congregation that Jesus says stop the sword. And the Pope refuses to tell the public Jesus says stop the sword because he's got people who are medical doctors who are filling his life full of lies in order to keep themselves employed. And like, that's an anti-cancer tea. As long as I continue to ingest that, my immune system should be fine. For defeating whatever the heck is here. I don't want to test that. I'm sure, like, if I had actual nuclear elements, I don't want to say that. But it's true, though. A hot coal will burn paper. And so we're hoping that I'm being scared or intimidated and educated as to how they've been knocking off people here in the United States. You can see solid crystals. What Robert Steele told me is they're putting Class A carcinogens. Let me let this keep playing so I can put his face on the thing.
Killing the incentive to become a new inventor and create a new company. Because Wall Street has figured out that they can rig the system, and they figured it out for sure, that it's easier for them to kill a company and rig the system than it is to buy it. Because if I can issue an endless amount of shares, which is the company's currency, it's really the company's cash, Robert, those shares. So it's just like cash in our bank account to the company. It is their lifeblood for money. If I can kill the value of those shares, okay, then ultimately I can kill everything, the jobs, the technology, and in fact, inventors are going to take the position, why would I even start a public company and do this? Because all they're going to do is eat me and kill it. And in fact, a lot of that is true.
You know, you've answered the question I was about to ask, which is about the scale and also the impact. Is there a chance to get any of that money back, or is that money gone forever?
No, there is a good chance to get it back, because if you look at the number one and number two profit making categories of all these prime brokers, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse, etc., you'll see that proprietary trading is their number one income moneymaker, and stock lending is their number two moneymaker. And I believe, in my opinion, that a lot of that proprietary trading income is off of this illegal process. So those partners of those firms, and those firms who are worth billions and billions of dollars, still hold a lot of that money. And the reality is, in all the lawsuits we filed in the last approximately 15 years, defendants have paid, and we've set.
All right, well, so I need to work on documenting my family tree because it's just gotten pretty hectic here. It's about this fear of money. There is no such thing as white. There's plenty of evidence that explains it that is public and that I've been sharing. Let's see how to find my Google Photos or my Drive. Oh, you don't want to know. So let's find. Let's just Drive. And I'll show you what USA looks like to those who are in charge of this one core 3. They're only showing one of the 3 here, but we also have the Germans, who are a better species than the one core 3. One core 3 invented that you're either a slave or a white person, and that goes back to 1790, shortly after George Washington, or Geo-washing, all the Tons, was put in charge of the United States. Their goal is to get rid of anybody who's athletic or to use them as a PR person. This is the same problem here. Hiram Abiff got killed. He was the guy who did the metal roofs and the slate and stone cathedral. They set fire to Notre Dame just last year or something. Donald Trump's in office. It's 2020. And while he's in office, they set fire to Notre Dame, which is demole and all that. And trying to get rid of all the old and create a new white thing. They also set fire to Windsor Castle just before they invaded Iraq in Desert Shield, Desert Storm back in like 1991 to 1993. And then last year they set fire to Shinto Castle in Japan. And these are just people who are fat and ugly and don't like the idea that if we became monetarily responsible, the ugly people would be a lower priority. So same as with the Dust Bowl, anybody who's stupid or ugly just has to be mean to everybody who's in charge. And that's all that's ever driven them. I was trying to document St. George is a cartoon. But, it's their goal to have cartoons be the master race. And what's the point of education if all it takes is a gun and some yelling to get what you want from reality? So here's St. George. St. George. There's St. George. And let's click on that. And it's an army medal. I guess let's first of all look at the Catholic thing on the images. And to see St. George, he's got a big woman at home, and here's the tall men, the 6-foot basketball players and all that. Here's a short guy that's a little bit husky on a horse. He hides his weapon behind his whiteness. So that's like your PR people and all that. St. George, Saint and Angels, Catholic Online. And the Catholics are actually serving the Baptists. There isn't even a Catholic church. The Catholics hate their own religion.
I want you to put that question on the computer.
See, here's an older thing from England.
The plumber section.
You can see
Listen to me.
the dragon is actually thinner and thinner arms than the wings on St. George. Its wing arm is actually smaller than St. George's.
We need to fix our pipes.
Anyways. And so, like, Jesus defended the women, and the goal is to defend any man that would defend women. St. George, from a distance, wages war,
Fix the water.
and he rides the power of
Fix the
whiteness. And this is an ongoing
Ask
theme.
the question why, when we fixed the water heater, this water stopped.
It didn't. Somebody packed the sink,
Just
okay?
ask that question.
Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see. St. George and Army.
There's no pack.
Let me just show this. It's the enlisted people. Their goal is to kill all the officers in the military. And it's the same thing as the Masons teach, but it actually starts with St. George. So here's St. George, an award. Order of St. George is a top award given to the Army's mounted forces. and the United States Armor Association. You saw the armor thing, Slaying the Dragon, the Cavalry of Knights, and you have like the KKK and the illiterate people and uneducated people. Now there are a few people who are really important to them, who read like all the fiction, and they learn all the poetic St. Jerome methods of fiction, and then they use the poetic St. Jerome to control the Catholic Church, which just wants to feel smart about itself. And so they do those stupid things with St. George, who isn't a Catholic. Now, St. George is a Greek god turned against all Greeks. The goal is to use an Olympic person to murder all Olympic people. St. George, George of Lydia, or Lydia. Now, this location is actually in Spain. Was a soldier of the Cappadocian Greek origins, member of the Praetorian. Now we had Praetorius, who was the general in charge of invading. Okay, who was the general in charge of invading Iraq. He got in trouble for cheating on his wife, and his favorite movie was that race car, nasty car movie. I've forgotten, but it had Sacha Baron Cohen in it and Will Ferrell. Guide to the Roman Empire. He was sentenced to death for refusing to recant his Christian faith. Now, his Christian faith is to kill Jesus, to kill Abel, to kill anyone who's capable. And like Jacob Israel, to travel and murder all wealthy, capable, intelligent people. And he refused to recant on the Jacob Israel story, as long as he could fight people from a distance and destroy them without getting caught through Sinterklaas and Black Pete, and, black armor and stuff. Nobody has black armor. Now, you could do that if you melted beeswax, but he's anti-colonies and anti-royal family. I mean, the United States was based on the belief to get rid of anybody who's of noble title or well recognized. So it's kind of interesting that St. George is the soldier, but the foundation is to get rid of anybody who had a title to control or inhibit the soldier's right to murder people. And so I'm back to this with the NSA, and